Well, I just finished this project just a few days ago here in June, my birthday month. Yay! I'm celebrating this year the entire month, so yep, I know, weird, but I'm doing it anyway. So, the chair. I started this back in March, and my neighbor, he gave me a whole bunch of templates for this chair and the DVD that goes along with it. And it's a Sam Maloof design chair, and the woodworker in the DVD is Scott Morrison. And so one of the bummers about watching the DVD and trying to make the chair is there's nothing that tells you what the sizes are. It's just what Scott says on the DVD. And so I kept taking notes. I'd watch a part of the DVD, I'd take notes, and then come up and do the part, and then I have to go back down and watch the DVD again, or watch that part over if there was something I wasn't sure about, like a size or something. Anyway, I really didn't enjoy not having handwritten instructions and stuff. And so that was a very interesting way to build something. So with that, I have like 9 hours of footage, and I thought about doing a step-by-step video series of me making the chair. And then I thought, well, what if I never finish it? Then I'm gonna have all these steps and never have it done. So I did finish it. I almost didn't because I messed up on some spots, and I'll talk about that in the video. So I'm going to be showing you footage of me working on the chair, and I'm going to talk through my process like I usually do. So to start off with, what it called for was 12-quarter wood, which, why don't they just call it 3 inches? I don't know. I guess because an inch really isn't an inch when it comes to wood. I'm not sure. But anyway, it called for 12-quarter wood. And I thought it would be really cool to use Myrtlewood. And so we found a place in Newport that had a big old board of Myrtlewood. And so we got that, and it wasn't enough wood. And I was afraid of that, but I went ahead and started the chair anyway. Because everything had to be so thick, I had to glue things together to make it that thick. And then Scott on the DVD, he would say, well, make this, this long, when the template for it was, like 4 inches shorter. And so trying to save my wood, I just used the template instead of using the measurements that Scott said on the video. And that caused some problems later because I didn't understand how things were fitting together and all that stuff. Anyway, let's just get to the video, and I'll just show you as I'm going along, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. So here I'm using the seat template, and I'm marking all of the areas that I need to mark. And I wished I had paid more attention to the grain of the wood, because the end of result would have been much prettier, but I didn't think about that at the time, and I had such a small supply of wood, it was far from my mind to match the grains up. But live and learn, I guess. I used the miter saw to cut the 30-degree angles it called for. Then I dadoed all the areas that I was supposed to, and we didn't have a dado blade, so I just did a whole bunch of passes again and again and again. It was awkward, but I got it done. So then I broke out all those little pieces and I chiseled that area so, sort of flat. And then I used a biscuit jointer and made some biscuit holes. And Scott on the DVD, he said to make sure the holes were in the lower third of the seat because the chair will be shaped later and we don't want to expose those biscuits. So I set it all down on the floor, and Wally came to see what I was doing. And it's so funny how he has to stand on the wood. But anyway, I put on some wood glue and I stuck the biscuits in. And while I was clamping it all up, Gibbs came to visit. And he had to step on the wood too. Okay, here's the seat. And what he said to do is you could dry fit the pieces. And so Let's do the leg in the front. So when I just measure, okay, that's gonna be too wide, so that means it goes this way. And when I check it like that, you know what? That's almost good. I will plane that down. And then this one, I will plane down also, because it's almost there. So that's what I'm just gonna do. I'm gonna wing it by planing it down and go from there. Let's go over to the planer. So as I was planing those boards, I kept going back and checking to make sure I wasn't planing too much. Then I took the template of the one back leg and I traced that out and marked the dado areas. I referred to my notes a lot. And then I traced out one of the two front legs, and I didn't have enough wood to make the other leg. So I wasn't sure what I was going to do, so I just kept on going. Then I cut those dados out on the front leg the same way I did the dados on the seat, with a bunch of passes. And I kept checking the thickness to make sure I wasn't making the dado too wide. And the same with the back leg. Then I had an idea of how to make the second front leg. Well, I have a piece of Ecuadorian Laurel, which kind of looks like Myrtlewood to me anyway, feels like Myrtlewood. So I am going to take those pieces and I'm going to glue them together, and then I'm going to glue together these remnants that I have. Gotta do what you gotta do, right? So I glued and clamped that and hoped it would work. Husband helped me with the router table to router out a few areas on the back leg. Then I cut out the shapes of the legs on the bandsaw, including the front leg that was made from the Ecuadorian Laurel. Then I used the profile templates and traced the profile side of the legs so I could cut those. The stretchers of the chair I made with maple, since I didn't have enough myrtle wood, and I used a rasp to shape them. This special Maloof joint bit I borrowed from the neighbor again, but it makes the correct dimensions for the joint. So he had it and he let me use it to make these unique joints. And all was going well, except my wood wasn't thick enough at the joint. So I got the legs to fit onto the joint just fine, but there was a space between the side of the legs and the seat. And if the head of the leg had been thicker, that wouldn't have happened. So this was a big boo-boo because I was trying to utilize all my wood and not knowing exactly what I was doing or how the pieces were going to fit together. It made this happen. So I had to modify the chair a lot to fix this error. So my wood is too narrow on the legs and stuff. And so I am just making this joint again more narrow and in 1/2 inch to see if it'll fix it. I think it will. I dadoed it on the bandsaw. And here it is with the deeper Maloof joint. Then I went on to shaping the legs, which I did with a rasp. I really enjoy using the rasp. It works a lot better than I ever thought, and it isn't too hard to use. Then I started shaping the seat. I guess this is called hogging it out. Anyway, I had been looking forward to doing this part from the beginning. I don't know, it just looked fun. I tried using the Arbortech, but then switched to the grinder. This was much quicker because I was using a 36 grit wheel for the bulk. And then I used 46 or 45 grit and 60 grits after that. Then the rest of the shaping was going to be done after the chair was assembled. So I put it all together and shaped the back seat a little bit on the pneumatic drum sander and put it on there too, just to see how things were looking. I thought it was looking good so far, so I glued those pieces together except for the back of the chair and then clamped them up for the night. Next was making 2 holes in each leg where I would insert some screws for strength. So I did that, which was very scary. Then I made the plugs for the screw holes and used some dark wood that I had. I had some ebony, but I didn't have enough ebony to do the plugs, so I used some other dark wood. I'm not even sure what it is. I added some glue and I tapped those little plugs in place with my mallet. Then I took it all outside to work on shaping. And I used the 40 grit wheel and really went to town shaping all of the parts. And worked on those leg attachment areas. Then where it was really gappy, I made some wood putty and filled in the gaps. And it would just look better if I didn't have to do that because I messed it up, but it is what it is. So I made the putty with some sawdust and glue. Then after that, I put the seat back on and I put it on upside down. But I realized pretty quickly that I did that, and so I was able to flip it over before it was too late. And the only reason it was upside down was because I shaped the bottom part of the chair back where it attaches to the leg. And so that was sticking up in the air the other direction, and I needed it to be with the leg. So that's the only reason why I say it was upside down. Then I took my first seat in the chair. Okay, I'm stepping back and taking a look at it now. Some work to do yet, but I've never sat in it, so I'm gonna sit in it. Check it out. Ooh, nice. Yeah, I like it. Ah, it's nice. Wally, come on. Oh, I was excited too to sit in a chair. You like it? You like it? Yeah, you do. Oh, good boy. How's it sitting? Then I continued shaping with the rasp and went outside again to do some dust causing shaping of the seat. Then sanded with the orbital sander where I could, and finally got to the point where I could hand sand. Then I wiped it all down with a tack cloth and took it outside and put on Bartley gel stain. This stuff says that you don't have to ever sand it. And after the first coat, I believed that to be true because it was so smooth. And while I was putting the stain on, I thought I should put a verse on the bottom so I didn't stain the underside of the seat. So when it was dry, I brought it back in and I put on Psalm 139:2, which says, "You know when I sit down and when I get up, you know my thoughts before I think them." I also put on my logo and signed and dated it. Then I put a coat over the top of the Bible verse and I put a second coat everywhere else. Okay, so here we are again, and I'm just going to show you some things that I talked about. I'm going to show you the grain on the seat. See how pretty that grain is right there? And then here, it doesn't match it. It would be nice if this grain went all the way across, but oh well. And then this knot over here isn't in the best of places, but you know what, I like it. And I tried to smooth it so it's not, grabby or anything. And I think it feels okay. The maple stretchers, I think, look fine. And also this leg, this is the one that's the Ecuadorian Laurel. And there's the Myrtlewood. So, and you can see where I had to glue the pieces together, which is a bummer, but there. But anyway, it doesn't look too bad. It's not like, ooh, that leg looks different. Even this doesn't look too strikingly different, I think. So that's ugly. That's where the wood putty is. And back here, there's some wood putty there. I like my circles I did, my plugs. And then on the top here, I messed up these plugs and I made them bigger. And then I had to cut the circles myself, but I think they turned out okay. So that was a good save. And then the chair back being upside down, see how it's different here? Well, it's not as different now since I sanded it so much, but anyway, it was upside down. So it was a long process making this chair, but you know what? I learned a whole bunch, and I have another piece of furniture I will be making soon, hopefully. So thanks for joining me, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Bye!